You ever go to LinkedIn or go to a conference and see somebody else who's just nailing it with their content marketing? And I'm always curious, how are they doing it? What does it look like behind the scenes? So in this podcast, that's what we're gonna explore. I'm gonna ask dumb questions of smart people to figure out how content marketing is working these days and how you and I can take away actionable steps for our businesses. Welcome to the podcast.
Ben Wise, I am the founder of Storied.
It's easy to write off social media and be like, okay, yeah, it doesn't work.
Adapt it to who you are.
All right, Sandra, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk with you because you are a hot commodity on LinkedIn these days. High engagement, amazing carousels. I think it's easy to say, it's safe to say that is your specialty. So tell me about like LinkedIn and carousels and we're talking about content marketing in general in this podcast, but like I'm seeing that come from you a lot. How did you get into this?
So it took me probably 8 months to come to this place where I'm now, because I started like most of the people on LinkedIn start. So I was buying courses from, famous influencers and so on, So my route to educating myself was, I think, the same as everyone else's. And for a very long time, please don't look back, but if you look back on my timeline, it was basically the same things as everybody else, is doing, which is, the story post, the polarizing post, the cheat sheet maybe, then you drop here or there a carousel, or, just the classic, the quotes thing, a lot of quotes. And at one point I was like, I really dislike this because it's not who I am. I really do not feel comfortable also exposing myself through the personal stories and the selfies because it's not my style. And I was thinking, how can I, turn this game? And then because my natural, like, how am I in person? I am a little bit of, provocative and a little bit edgy and so on. So I started creating these carousels, and I said, okay, so carousels, they're going to be like my main piece, and I'm going to construct them in a way that 80%, at least 80% of carousel, it's going to be a recyclable standalone piece, right? So if you look, 2 months back when I started this process, you could look in my carousels, you could basically individual page, you could still follow the story, but each page inside a carousel, it was basically a one pager that you could take out and repurpose again once in the future. So I started doing that, and that's the first time I really got a little bit of more traction and attention and so on. And I'm currently like upgrading all of this process and adding elements and so on.
So you're building the plane as you're flying. It sounds like. I think what I saw a little bit, or from past conversations we've had, is this is a new thing, LinkedIn carousels. Because that wasn't always your background, right? You come from the video production, video media background, years ago, and you're pivoting into LinkedIn and carousels and learning things as you go, and you're putting it together an offer right now. Still, is that right, or do you have an offer already figured out?
I had an offer. Now I'm building another offer because so I have a lot of inbound, and a lot of people want one-on-one, right? The coaching one-on-one. And as I'm going, and as you said, as I'm building, I'm figuring out also, what things are scalable and not. And whatever I am going to be, putting out there and creating, I want it to be scalable, not to burn myself on one-on-one interactions, right? And being able to help more people or, educate more people. So I'm basically switching this now. And I'm also teaming up with somebody, not going to reveal that yet. So now it's much more clear it was in the past, because, you are correct. My background was video. That's how I think I also can relate to you a lot and understand what you're doing, And on LinkedIn, I just really wanted to master one social media channel, because never in my life I used any channel as my personal brand, right? So yeah.
You're diving into LinkedIn carousels as kind of like you're getting to be known for that, at least from my perspective. How are you making that sustainable for yourself? Because if anyone's watching this, check out Sandra on or listening. Check out Sandra on LinkedIn. Sandra Macele, did I say that right?
Macele.
Sandra Macele, Macele. We'll put the links and everything in the show notes. But like these are massive carousels, like dozens. If you have one, like I thought that was over 100 pages or something, like just tons of pages. How are you making that sustainable? Like, what does your content routine look like to do something like that?
So first of all, I only create when I feel inspired and when I am in a flow. So when I have that feeling of flow, I can sit down and I can spend hours and hours putting together different concepts for different carousels, right? And I just start drafting things. And how this is sustainable is in a way that everything that I create, again, is a piece that I can reuse in something else. So a lot of the things recently that you will see are the things that are basically instruction manuals or, pieces that educate people. And these are the pieces that I'm going to, upgrade a little bit and add to my portfolio for a lead magnet or my, I don't know, coaching programs or something. So this is what it makes it worth it, because in a way I'm building in public, and everything I'm producing except the funny parts and the jokes, right? That's there for a reason as well. I'm putting for the future, or as a standalone piece, as I said before, or a part of the program that I'm currently building. That's what makes it sustainable. Does it take a long time? It does take a long time per carousel. At the end of the day, it doesn't that much again. People are asking me, I had like 50 pages. I think I didn't create it 100 pages long carousel, but 50 pages, something like that.
It's a long carousel.
It is.
But they're entertaining. That's what makes them so like oh wow, who would read that? Well, they're entertaining. You've mastered the art of AI and humor, and mixing those together create really compelling and storytelling, and the voice you use and the language you use.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it else on LinkedIn that I found.
Thank you.
So your sustainability may not be sustainable, create one piece standalone, but what you're saying is you're taking those parts of your carousels and those ideas, and you're going to be incorporating them into courses and coaching programs that you're building as we speak, right?
Correct.
So you're building content not just for one-time drops, but also potentially you can reuse it in the future, right? Reusing content is a legitimate content strategy, especially on LinkedIn, but you're also making it a permanent asset for courses. I've seen somebody else talk about that and how they do the same thing. I can't remember the name of it, but another LinkedIn creator who, whenever they create assets for, I think it was David Sardi, actually, on LinkedIn. If you don't know him, check him out. He's building in public as well. He's building an analytics tool for LinkedIn. And he said something similar where every time he's building something, every time he creates content, it's also going into a course that he will eventually publish out there in the wild. And I've never thought about it that way. So when I create content, so I'm going to create it, and then one day I'm going to, redo it or revamp it. And I haven't yet created content with that method, but it sounds really intriguing. And it just has to do with probably the age and stage of business I'm at, where I don't really have necessarily a course I've thought of yet that I want to publish. But that makes a lot of sense. You're doing a lot of work now, but you're saving time later.
Yeah, basically, yeah, you said it right. So it may look like a lot of work, but I know why am I investing all this time, and work, because I know that it's gonna, come very handy sometime in the future. So whatever I create, I usually always create with this mindset. It's never just one thing that I'm putting out there, but I always have something long term in the back of my mind. And also I'm saving all of these carousels and I'm mixing them and kind of gluing them together, because I know that in the back I'm creating like a monster PDF or a book or whatever, or just slides to educate somebody, and it's gonna be handy. And one funny thing, so people ask me, how long do you spend per carousel, very often, and I'm not even kidding. So a lot of times, so it's during the weekends when I watch movies, and one of the carousels was, somebody asked me, so how much time did you spend on this one, because it was very long, and I'm like, I don't know, approximately 4 Marvel movies. Because it was because it's true. So yeah.
I love that. You are the queen of pop culture references in your carousels. That's what part of what makes them so intriguing. You get a lot of engagement, I think, for that alone. And I think at a cursory glance, someone might think, well, Sandra's just getting engagement because her stuff is just fun and it's involving pop culture, right? And that's fun for people. It's not work. But you are driving very real business results for yourself. Like, you're getting inbound leads from your stuff. Tell me about that. Like, when did that start happening?
The funny part or the pop culture part?
Both. I want to hear about the funny part, and then the leads, the when you're getting, how did that start happening?
So I started integrating the funny part because I think the basic mistake that majority of us do, we pack with information, whether that be a text post or a carousel or something, which is very condensed and very hard to, to kind of consume and keep focused on. Especially what I see is a lot of us, we kind of neglect the reality that we don't talk just with the ICP. We talk with our peers. We talk with, you and I, who support each other, who come on each other's profile, I don't know, daily to show the support and so on. And these are also people that are consuming. So one of the mistakes that we're all doing is like just overpacking with like information and not giving that emotional relief or release. So, and I would like to pull out example of, news structure. And you know what I'm talking about. So how are the evening news structured? So it starts with the hype, right? The trailer. So it pulls you in and your attention is in, you're very alert at what's going to happen. Then your attention drops a little bit, right? Then you have to invent something that it will also pull up the attention, which is usually like a bigger piece of a story that is really interesting. Then attention again drops, right? Then you need again something that will pull up the attention. And at the end, usually there's weather or something very light, right? So the entire structure of the news, it's basically, I'm going to say this word, but you know what I mean. It's manipulating with the attention of the audiences. So basically, my funny parts and my carousels, if I return, are doing exactly this. So there are pages that are packed with value, right? And you need to give the reader this emotional release where there's something light and something that keeps them going. Then again, you pack with value, right? And they have attention. And then again, you kind of give them emotional release. So basically, the entire thing is just playing with the attention and the emotions, just driving and telling through the story, from the beginning until the end.
Mm-hmm. So you got those waves of, you could call them waves of reattention.
Exactly.
Attention starts waning, attention. Like, yeah, that's a great analogy. I like the news analogy.
Yeah.
Totally get what you're saying. What are you learning right now what's one thing that you're learning right now about yourself, the creative process, and getting leads? And we got to go back to that here in a second, but about LinkedIn, what's one thing you're learning right now that is interesting to you, or that's maybe surprising to you that you didn't know before, like a year ago?
I'm learning a lot about sales. So one thing, especially for all the people that have LinkedIn as a prime, generator of revenue, content is, having good content and having inbound is amazing, right? But if you do not teach yourself also how to have these conversations in DMs and in private, what is not visible on the LinkedIn, you cannot predict the leads. You cannot predict so it's a two-part puzzle. I mean, it's more puzzles inside, but you know what I'm trying to say. Both pieces are extremely important, and having good content is one part, right? But it does not allow you predictability, which you need. For example, if you live out of LinkedIn, that will generate like the constant leads. You also have to be proactive in a different ways. And I met a lot of people that are extremely proactive in DMs and know how to have these conversations. And they are earning, I don't know, 100K per month only from LinkedIn, 200K per month only from LinkedIn.
No content.
With content, but
With content.
it's very, I don't know, could be, it's nothing wow. There is a lot of value. There's also a lot of these story posts, but the majority of activity which is happening is in DMs. So I'm learning that there's no one formula. I think both pieces are important, and to learn how to merge those pieces, it's extremely important if you use LinkedIn as your main revenue source.
That makes sense. So where are you learning to get better at sales? I know you come from a media and marketing background. I do too. And I'm learning to get better at sales. I work with people like with Darren Gibbs on LinkedIn. Great guy, by the way, if anyone wants to learn how to improve their sales game. I know Richard Moore is also somebody, he's a British guy. That really speaks to how to convert interest into sales. And there's a few others. Where are you just self-learning right now? Anyone you'd recommend? Or
no, I am learning from, oh my God, we're going to so have to discuss this Matt. So I'm learning from Matt Lacayo. He's really brilliant. I love his style. Unlock AI is his program. And I'm learning a lot from him, and the way how he basically constructed his workshop. It's pretty amazing because the scalability of his business model is crazy, is out of the roof. So the part that I'm missing, so I have the creativity, right? And all of this, but the parts that I'm missing, I'm basically learning now from him.
I think I know who you're talking about. I'll have to look him up afterward. Now let's go back to wrap up that question about getting those inbound leads. Tell me about that. When that started happening, and I was thinking you and I were messaging each other back and forth, and you're like, I'm overwhelmed. I've got all this interest and I don't yet have a full offer. And like, what was that like getting those leads in, and how did that get started? Was it one piece of content that just exploded, or what was that like?
It was basically from 2 carousels, 1 week after another, that things got a little bit crazy. The viral pieces of carousels, right? And everybody started seeing the uniqueness and a different approach. And it was extremely overwhelming, and it still can be, the DMs. And the thing is that, I didn't have any offer, especially on the personal branding, and they were asking me to, help them with the personal branding. So I basically started taking one-on-ones, and I was very transparent because I want to be like that. I want to be very transparent. So I said, look, I don't have an offer for this. So I'm going to build together with you the things that could be useful for you. And I took the first one and I started building that in Notion, the structure, what is important inside, figuring out to focus on what are the pieces where I'm very strong and would be, useful for them. As I was, having more and more of these, I started creating this program until I came to the point again. So on the long run, this is extremely exhausting. So how can I create this? It's extremely exhausting.
Yeah.
How can I make this scalable so I don't completely bury myself? Because it's energetically, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah.
It's easy to get sucked into doing the work and meeting with the one-on-ones and the clients, and you want to help people, but there's only so much time that you have and energy, right? That you have and creativity you can bring to the table.
Yeah.
Kudos to you for finding that, looking for that sustainable, that scalable, that model. And let's wrap it up here. I'm curious, where, if somebody wants to work with you, where can they find you?
On LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn. That's where she's at, folks. Find Sandra Macele. I'm messing up your name. Find Sandra Macele. I don't even know. On LinkedIn. We'll put the link in the show notes. And Sandra, anything else you want to, like, let's leave with this. What's one tip or mindset, or what's something you want people to walk away with when it comes to creating content on LinkedIn? Like, what's a rule or something you really want them to understand about LinkedIn that they may not have thought about before?
Every time somebody is tested to copy somebody else, take a step back, because basically what you're doing, you are, stepping further away from who you are, and start looking at the person you are admiring as somebody, okay, this person is really good at this. And you take a piece here, a piece here, a piece here, and basically adapt it to who you are. Like just the copying part, because all of us, we're being pulled in this influencer mindset when somebody is successful, that this is the formula that's going to also make you successful. When the key is to truly find what are the pieces that resonate with myself and how to make this my own. That's I think the most important thing that I've learned.
So if I'm hearing you right, you take ideas that resonate the most with you, and if they resonate with you and you talk about those and you dive into those as your own voice, that is the key to finding an audience on LinkedIn and finding growth on LinkedIn.
Revealing more of yourself. This is the key to truly understand who you are and finding your own voice. So don't copy completely one person, find several things, glue them together, right? And experiment with that and look how that feels for you. If this is your voice, tone of voice, and if this is the true representation of who you are. This is what I'm saying, if I'm clear.
Yeah. Yep. Borrowing from a bunch of people, testing what works, but also what feels good to you, and then doing more of that as you continue to iterate on the content you put out there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Sandra, for coming on the podcast. And we've got all the links we already talked about where we can find you. Thanks again for being here today. I've really learned a lot.
Thank you. And you are amazing at this. Thank you.
Thank you.